Hi, I'm Keith Manis, and I've been an ordained pastor in the Christian Reformed Church for over 32 years. I'm here today to appeal for the full inclusion of LGBTQ persons into the life, ministry, leadership, and sacrament of the Church. And also to say that just recently, out of the conviction of my heart, I've decided that if my denomination were to allow it, I would officiate for a same-sex wedding, which is quite a departure from what I've thought and taught and preached over many years. This is me repenting and explaining, and along the way talking about the HSR, the Human Sexuality Report, and quoting from Heidelberg Catechism Q&A 60. Because by way of explaining this, I just want to say that the system, as I've known it all my life, just really doesn't work as it should. Let me illustrate that. This brick here, this golden brick, represents Jesus. On Christ, the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. And then these blocks represent the systems that we have built on this and around it. The Bible, of course, God through Moses, God through the Apostle Paul, God through the Ten Commandments, God through the teachings of the church, and can we admit also God through a lot of earthly systems that we build around this, that out of all of Christendom, all the different systems that we build for what it means to follow Jesus and be a Christian, all of that. Well, praise God, these little things are Play-Doh, and they represent the people of God. I praise God that over all these years of ministry, there are people who have attained a high level of success in the business of being a Christian as we have defined it. And there are a great many others who, they try hard, but they don't quite attain. There are a lot of holes in it, but they're working hard, but they're just barely holding it together in terms of the biblical expectations of what it means to be a Christian as we define it. And then there are others who egregiously fail, like habitually, willfully, pridefully fail. But they are members of the church. And we say, well, when it comes time for the sacrament of the Lord's Supper, or when it comes, the bread and the juice, or when it comes time to elder and deacon, we say, well, it's okay because, well, it's by grace and because they have Jesus in their heart. And then we build a kind of a wall in our minds, in our hearts, and we cut people off. Because there are people who say that they have received Jesus into their heart by faith and that they seek to serve the Lord and pray to Him. But we say, even though we fail, even in this basic system that we have built, you fail too much to be included into this system. And we say to each other sometimes in church, there's nothing you can do to make God love you more, and there's nothing you can do to make God love you less. But to some people we say, but that little statement doesn't count for you. So I love Heidelberg Catechism Q&A 60. It asks the question, how are you right with God? How do you know that you are acceptable and pleasing in the sight of God? It says, only by true faith in Jesus Christ. Even though my conscience accuses me of having grievously sinned against God and against all His commands, and of never having kept any of them. And even though I am still inclined toward all evil, like right now at this moment, the longer I live as a Christian, I'm so aware of the fallenness in the depth of me. That great word from the Catechism, nevertheless. Nevertheless, out of sheer grace, without my deserving it at all, God grants and credits to me the perfect satisfaction, righteousness, and holiness of Christ, as if I had never sinned nor been a sinner, as if I had been as completely obedient as Christ was obedient for me. This great substitution, the perfection of Christ that stands in the place of my complete imperfection. And it says, all I need do is accept this gift with a believing heart. What a relief. That's what we're all about. Now, I love the church, and I've been so blessed to be a part of it, but let's just get over it. The truth is, this just doesn't work like we think it does. It creates a lot of good, but it also creates a lot of fear, a lot of guilt, a lot of anxiety, a lot of comparing, pretending, condemning, hair splitting, and hypocrisy. And different rules that change over the history of time. There are people, who just want to be completely honest about who they are. They want to be honest before God and honest with the church. You know what? In the history of my time in the church, there are a very few people who would come and be honest with me about how life really is and how full of holes their attempts to serve God really are. Most people wouldn't dare to tell me that, and certainly people wouldn't dare to tell the church that until they got caught. The Human Sexuality Report, for all that is good about it and all that is biblical about it, I'm afraid, is built in this way of thinking. Because, we are all just cobbling it together. We have these earthly pursuits that are oftentimes far from discipleship in Jesus. And we have material possessions, and we make these earthly commitments, and yet we say, bless me. Oh, Pastor, come and bless me. In this fallen situation, I'm telling you though, this idea that somehow we have attained some level of righteousness that earns the blessing of God, that system doesn't work. There is no wall in the heart of God for anyone who seeks to come by the grace of Jesus. We are all together on Christ, the solid rock. We cobble our lives together, trusting in His grace and blessing, no matter what. Oh, that great word, nevertheless. These little Play-Doh figures, nevertheless, the fingerprint of Christ, the fingerprint of God is upon us. Nevertheless, we are children of God through the grace of God on the cross. Nevertheless, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Nevertheless, Christ chooses to dwell in us, and nevertheless, we are treasures in jars of clay. Nevertheless, we can be victorious and confident and glad and loving because we stand on Christ, the solid rock. This is why I'm praying we build a new kind of church. This old kind doesn't work according to the teachings of Jesus. Let us build a new one where everyone is included, where all of us are together because of the grace and the unfailing goodness of God. Thank you.